nicely. Trying to be too optimistic, maybe. That might be a bit optimistic, that one. End up with that as a hammers. Let's try it a bigger bit. Heavy, that one now. This is a question of how far that split goes. If it goes a long way up, then just have to keep on cutting until it's gone. Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. It's often you have to put these back in a little bit further in. Ah, it's cold. The metal works really cold. Right, and then I've got a little bit of extra meat on the handle here, which I can now take down so that I can get the alignment just right. As you know, it's quite nice that it points in the right direction. And for that I'm just going to use this. A little bit of sandpaper in the very last bit. There's some bits here where there's the beginnings of a knot or the ends of a knot, and it's a bit difficult to plane it. Kind of closed angle. And, I left this bit on because it's often that bit splits if you do too much banging and stuff. So. There's not very much flow on these birch trees just yet because it still gets frozen at night, but it's enough to have a little drink when you're working. Nice. Not doing too many this year because I haven't really got time to do the boiling. Oh, it's comfortable. Pretty comfortable. Didn't feel like it was going to break or anything. It felt quite strong. I'm sure the head is. I think that the inside of the head is slightly. It has a slight taper there and a taper here. It's kind of got a waist in the middle. So I don't know. I might. Maybe it's better to try and let it get loose and put more wedges in. I don't know. I looked at those Finnish ways of doing it. They look quite good. Otherwise, it felt nice. It's nice. Very nice axe. It's quite heavy. There's a little bit of daylight on the edge there. I must have hit something. I had a young Swedish chap who got a bit of an earful from me because he was saying how I should do it. And the thing about doing it in circles and it being faster. Of course, doing it in circles is very good when you want to do it fast. But when you want to see what you're doing and what the result of your work has been, by brushing across the surface like this, you get a light stripe, and that shows you exactly where you are on the edge. Once you're on the edge, you don't want to be going around in circles because it's easy to keep the pivot the right way, like this, than it is like that. So if people watch me doing my building tools, my big Luftebiler, the broad axe, bearded axe, it's already sharp. You don't hit grit with that very often when you're using new materials. So all you're doing is you're putting back the very sharp edge that might have been dulled slightly. So once you're near the edge, you want to be able to see what you're doing, and you can only see what you're doing by the reflection in the light. It becomes a dark or a light stripe depending on the angle of the light. I know it's frustrating for people who are younger and have been taught. You've got to understand though that when you're middle-aged and you've been doing these things for 25 years, and you're thinking about what you're doing, I mean, you don't have to be thinking about it, and if you're not thinking about it, then anything can happen, of course. But when you are thinking about it, there were lots of reasons for doing every small thing. Anyway, the young lad got an earful, but then he wasn't very polite about it. In fact, he was rude in the typical Scandinavian way, or the typical way of, you know, I know better. Then it just doesn't look good actually. I think I ended up deleting the thread because it doesn't look good to have arguments. So once the edge, so the light, the bits of light along the edge now have disappeared, the damage has gone. So now I just want to have, I'm using a very, very coarse stone to do this. I don't know what the grit is of this, but it can't be much more than I don't know, it's probably 600 or less. I don't know what it is, doesn't say on it. But it's quite worn in the middle. It's not so worn on the very edges. So when I do that, I'm trying to get a finer finish. I'm trying to get a more polished finish, like you might get with a higher grit stone. I don't have a higher grit stone when I'm on the building site, I just usually have the one. And with this one I can get it so that you can shave with it. I mean, it isn't razor sharp, of course it's not razor sharp, because that would make a complete travesty of the people who are making films about honing razors. But you can shave your hair off your arm with it. And I think that's sharp enough. I don't want to have a very, I don't actually, there is an argument for having a slightly serrated surface. It bites the wood better and you're less likely to have accidents. You can still get it very sharp, but it's slightly serrated. What's the big deal about that? You know, it's not a plane, it's an axe. People have got to stop judging one thing based on the criteria for another. Having said that, don't listen to me because I am full of shit. And I just think I know what I'm talking about. Because I don't really know if there is a truth about these things. There's just a lot of opinions. But some people's opinions, for me, carry a lot more weight than other people's. And if someone's going to come with a rude demand for me to do it in a different way, what do they expect? Again, you know, Mr. Chickadee, he's striving for perfection in what he's doing, but I'm not. So if you want perfection for someone who's, you know, reinventing the past, go to him and watch his films. He's a very nice chap. I chat with him sometimes in the threads, you know, because we deal with the same kind of stuff. He's got no issue with the fact that people do it in a different way, and if he does, he doesn't say so in a public forum, because that would be very foolish. So it's certainly sharp enough to cut a hole in my foot. It's probably sharp enough to cut a hole through my steel toe caps as well. So got to be careful with this stuff, because I don't have very much experience felling trees with axes, so I almost cut myself today. So, you know, I've got a lot of experience with axes, and yeah, I almost cut myself today, because I can't just assume that I can transfer the knowledge from one to another. So a bit of modesty goes a long way. I haven't got much of that. It's a Norwegian or Scandinavian pattern felling axe. I think the weight of it is in one of the other films, so I might be able to cut that in here.